You have identification on them?
We're just on our way to work at NASA, sir.
I had no idea they hired.
There are quite a few women working in the space program.
What was the most challenging scene for each of you to film?
I didn't have any challenging scenes. It's the mindset that was the challenge. The time in our history where women, African American people, didn't have a voice in diplomacy. They didn't have the right to vote. So the entire time was challenging, and therefore having the camaraderie with my castmates helped me get beyond that.
I think, as Octavia mentioned, the mindset. One of the scenes for me was the courtroom scene. And the reason why is because I had to be very strategic. I knew that I needed something from the judge. Mary didn't have the freedom of speech that we have today. And her brothers and sisters were being lynched for merely looking at a white person in a way that they may not have deemed it to be respectful. And so I had to be very strategic. I had to go in and look at it like a chess game. How can I get this judge to empathize with me? How can I connect? She had to study her enemy, and so I had to really problem solve how to get what I needed, which was to get the authorization to go attend these classes that African American women couldn't attend because of our gender and our race, to go on to become an engineer. And ultimately, she did prevail. She did win.
You know what we're doing here? We're putting a human on top of a missile, shooting him into space, and it's never been done before. I need a mathematician that can look beyond the numbers. Math that doesn't yet exist. Before the Russians plant a flag on the damn moon.
In terms of fitting yourself into the era, in terms of civil rights and things like that, can you talk a little quickly about that?
Well, mine was, in a weird way, easy because I felt pretty clear pretty quickly about what my role was in the telling of the story, which was to be an impediment to somebody. And it was kind of exciting in that way, as far as like solving a puzzle, figuring out justifications for that, for certain behavior, and then the chance to engage in scenes with somebody where you are being an impediment to them is actually enjoyable because there's a friction to it. But I was very grateful to play what I felt was an important part of the progress of this story, even if it wasn't necessarily a shining example of humanity always. It was very rewarding in that way.
Can you talk a little bit about why the subject matter of this movie is important?
Well, it's our history, and we would do well to know more about our history. So would, at my age and young people, it can be thrilling. It can be embarrassing. There can be points where you're ashamed, but you can also be thrilled and realize that you can be a part of history too by altering the way you're going to behave going forward.
Ask you, if you were a white male, would you wish to be an engineer?
I wouldn't have to. I'd already be one.
Don't you know that we're able?
Space.com.